Hi, welcome to Get Woke. This is week 3. We are here with Nicole and Syntha.
Good morning. We're going to start with a meditation. So I invite you just to, wherever you are, unless you're driving, take a deep breath and close your eyes. And feel that seat right underneath you that's supporting your weight. Big breath in. And another. And taking another. In our body some oxygen. I'm inviting you now to let your eyes soften. Let the muscles in the back of your eyes soften. And let your eyes actually fall back, your eyeballs in your skull. We're going to shift the awareness from outer to inner. And in your mind's eye, see your spine grow long like the root of a tree, making its way down through the layers of the earth, down till you get to its fiery magma core. Attach your root. Let your root be at least as wide as your hips. And from above, whatever you connect to as source, pull down your stream of light, letting it heal your body. Take a moment, whatever that means to you, and trusting the wisdom of the body. Letting the light from source heal the body. And while we're connected to the fiery magma core, we're going to take this moment and with a couple of breaths with intention, drop what we brought here that doesn't serve us: anxiety, worry, fear, and to figure it all out. Drop it and just be here now. Take a moment to notice your body. What are your feet doing? How about your knees, your pelvis, your bottom, the muscles in your back, your shoulders, your arms, your fingers, your neck. Relax the jaw. Today we're going to talk about home. And this precious body that we're in is our first home here on this planet. Just take a moment, notice your, and let's take a walk. Take a walk on the path to find a home in nature. Perhaps it's a place you've been to many times. Perhaps it's a place of your childhood, but a place in nature. So just get yourself there. You're now there at that place in nature. It feels like home. Be with it for a moment. What makes it that way? Is it the geographical location? Is it the season? Is it the elements? Taking a moment there in your beloved place in nature. I invite you to feel the aliveness of all that around you. Now, while you're there in your place in nature, we're kind of thinking about this topic of home. I want you to think about if there's a group you've ever felt home in. Perhaps it was, I don't know, a subgroup of high school or a little group. I wonder what made that feel at home for you. Once we may have felt at home in our family, and that may or may not be true. Once we may have felt at home in a certain place. Have you ever felt home inside a relationship? Anyway, I invite all these questions to just float around like champagne bubbles in consciousness to help us inform what we consider home. Slowly, I invite you to start walking back down the path into your body, but we're going to enter slowly, feeling your feet, feeling your bottom supported, feeling any of the elements around you, the air, anything you may hear, smell, and when you're ready, what you see.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Sometimes before we talk, we take this to capture a few things in written form, but today we're just going to share a little bit about the images and things that came up. Do you want to share anything, Nicole?
Sure. Oh, thank you so much. With fires happening in Santa Cruz County, where I am, like what's been happening in a lot of California, it's pretty unprecedented. And with the redwoods and the fog and the coastal air, I think a lot of us thought it wouldn't happen there, even though there is so many trees and so much fodder for a fire. So I have certainly felt ungrounded for the last week. And it's funny how dropping into fine grounding makes me realize how floaty my energy has been. For me, that shows up by just nose to the grindstone. I just get into work and I want to talk about logistics and practical things. But then all the emotions come in when I have the invitation for some heart space. So I notice that the contrast of what it feels like usually when my baseline is in a different place versus now I recognize my baseline is more floaty than usual. So finding a spot in nature, I was searching, I was scanning because some of my favorite spots have been on fire. And so I actually found a spot, but it did take me a while, just scanning and grieving. And then I just went on a walk in real life the other day out to the beach in the middle of the night. In the moonlight, and it was really foggy and I couldn't see the horizon at all. It was just, moonlight on the sand and fog and just that feeling of the ocean when you can hear it. It's really low tide and there's just no horizon, just covered in fog. You can see the city lights, all over. And just so quiet and peaceful. And so it really dropped me into remember that, like, yes, the places close to my heart are on fire, but I can still go to the beach. It was really nice to walk there and drop in. I could smell it. I could feel it. It's like I needed it. I wanted it this morning. And I might not have realized that if we didn't do this grounding. So I went there, and the topic of groups and where I feel at home is a big question. So that brought up a lot for me. So I could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking? If it wasn't the whole, COVID thing, you would be at Burning Man. Like this is the time of year that you give a lot of your consciousness there.
Yes.
So I thought of when I was reflecting on our talk today, thinking about like groups and home and anyway, yeah.
Yes, every year
I'd
for
love to.
the last while or so, I've been putting a lot of my life energy into Burning Man, and it's 2 weeks out in the desert, but it's most months of the year I'm putting in effort being, well, I call myself the beehive specialist. It's just, we joke about herding cats, but I feel at home when I'm engaging with people and helping and feeling important and wanted and needed. And we create a space. We think about how we want to gift things. We think about creating a comfortable environment for being in a space where the mind is really altered and what that might involve. And we think about community engagement and creating that environment amongst us where there's an invite to drop in with heart, there's the resources and tools to say no. And that's a big thing we've been focusing on lately, is just that consent culture piece, and how to hold the community accountable. So all of that for my sense of home is really supportive and healing, and getting to think through it with people my age, my sensibilities, that all want to grow and heal. And it's been a really strong backbone that punctuates my year this time right now. My whole year revolves around it, really, because it's such a special time for me. And so this year has been completely different when we found out back in the spring that it's not going to happen. And to be honest, like, there is home in other places. I've been okay. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but it is a place of resource. And even though I'm not there this year, it absolutely comes to mind. Like, I can smell the dirt of that environment, because it's a place where there's people around that I have felt so surprisingly supported by. And it's a place where people try to anticipate needs and offer support, which is a big part of what happens, what we want. And it's not something that we're entitled to. It's someone else anticipating our needs and satisfying them. But it feels good when someone tries. As a community, there's a lot of effort for that. So it's a place that's special to me because I've felt like such an outsider so many times in my life. And when everyone comes together and says, like, we're all outsiders, and all of a sudden you're not. And so it's a big shift. So everything about that environment invites a shift, one way or the other. And it's a place where you never know what you're going to get. And there's always a lesson, even if it's hard. But I do think it's interesting that it's just those 2 weeks, just that cap of time, because there's a way where it's so unstructured, and it's very structured also. So it's a completely different time right now, and a lot of gratitude for that place that I call home and we call home. And I know you've been there too, Syntha, so I think you know what I'm talking about. But this is the first time it ever hasn't happened. So there's a lot of adjustment around that. And to be honest, in terms of the environment, there's lots of questions about welcome 70,000 people are out there, and the ethics of all those people driving out with their cars, and now there's planes that go out and all sorts of things. And so the environmentalist in me says that's okay. There's always a shadow to things, and it has a big shadow, and that's often a thing we joke about out there, is the shadows are long here. Burning Man casts long shadows, because when you are in a place like that, things can become more clear. There's nothing in the environment, it's just expansive horizon, and so the shadows are there. Yeah, anyway, I could go on about it.
No, it's real. It was up to me in meditation. And even when we started connecting again about this show, I think I think I joked early on, like, oh, yeah, anyway. So, I wanted to ask you about your daily practices. What do you do, daily practices that help you ground? And especially now during these times of like PTSD, it's real, with it feels to me like all of California is on fire. I was checking the fire a few times a day. I still have land there. Nothing's insured. I panicked a little bit and had a good friend put my SUV on a boat over here so it doesn't burn up. So, what are the things we do? How do we take action? How do we stay calm? What do you
That's a
do
great
personally?
question. Yeah, it's a great question to check in with. Every morning, I have long, loungy mornings, as I call them. So
Mm,
just quiet time to myself for up to an hour where I'm drinking my tea, and basically I'm just sitting in meditation. Because my dreams are so vivid lately, and especially this time of year, I have a lot of Burning Man dreams, and so it's been interesting lately to be noticing the shifts with that, because it's always in the summer I start getting those Burning Man dreams, and that energy builds up where I get to go ground into that home. But anyway, in the morning I download all my dreams and just sit in quiet. I sit next to the window, look at the birds, look at the trees, and
mm,
just be with myself. Syntha, your video dropped out, but now you're back. And I most days go for a walk. So I get into my shoes, get into my socks, and I go for a walk. I'm lucky enough to live in a neighborhood that's just gorgeous. And so there's lots of flowers. And so I do stop and smell the roses, but I also stop and pick the flowers. I pick the roses too, because I like to feel them. And so uh, the walks are grounding, the time by myself. I have a few podcasts I listen to. And honestly, right now, the most grounding thing for me has been music that I love. I really like pop music. I really like
mm,
hip hop. I like a lot of it. I've even been getting into country lately. So that actually just brings me a sense of unbridled joy, and a sense of just being connected to something bigger than myself and all my worries. Just listening to a pop singer
mm,
singing about whatever thing from their daily life, and hearing my own voice, because I think with some of the when I'm ungrounded, my voice can get really small and I can get really small, and the music helps me find that expansion.
mm.
Do you find music
Yeah,
grounding?
I love music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, music takes me places, right? It
Yeah.
takes me Can you? Yeah, it takes me for sure. Remind me. I tend to listen to the same thing, or I listen to this Hawaiian radio so I can tell what's going on, and it
Mhm.
it's a new part of my brain, learning new things. So yeah, let's see. The my daily practices have changed a bit over the years, but when I was very active in 12 step, I would start with like a third step prayer and end with a gratitude prayer. And it changed, it's still a version of that. I've gone through times where I go outside and do formal, call in the directions each day. And And then I've gone far away from my practices, gotten very busy in my career, and found my way back. And but I think for me, like, it's almost ingrained now. When I like it, that time, I loved what you were talking about with your time, with your tea, with yourself and your dreams. That's so precious.
Mhm.
So precious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know. You've taught me a lot about grounding over the years.
Yeah. It's so important, right? To live inside our body
Mm-hmm.
and what's going on. And yeah, when you were talking, I could feel, just because I am, I could feel myself like get all shaky in my core, and remember back, like, those hormones were coming. Like, I tense up all inside. I feel cold. It makes me feel cold, like I'm shivering or something, but I'm not cold. That's a PTSD response from, like, sucking all my
Right.
things in closer. Fine. So anyway,
Yep.
just the awareness of, when I was reflecting on this, one of the, I think, I wanted to say trauma sends us out of the body. And for a lot of my teen and young adult life, I wasn't in my body so much. And I was remembering dance was my way to come back in my body. And my first dance teacher, Judy Woodruff, and Diddy, they were both on Facebook, like learning just about the body, centering and finding your point of center. And like, it was the first time I had instructed my consciousness to get inside and do something. So that was super helpful. That's actually the way that I wanted to become a therapist, was through dance and movement,
Mm-hmm.
because I realized how and I definitely like to answer that group about subcultures and groups. There's a lot that I felt at home. Like, people see me as like a white middle-aged woman, but I definitely identify in a hippie, and because I don't know why, but I don't identify as a hippie. I identified young as a punk rocker, although that was my angsty punk rocker generation. I do identify as Generation X, but anyway, there is an angst that punk rock music used to help me. Like, I used to love to get in the, stage dive and ride the crowd and get in the pit. I don't do that anymore. But just that inner chaos. I love that energy of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're in it. So, and I also feel like trauma, fire puts us out of our body. And then what do we do? So, my house burned down in Fifth Valley fire, and then it's just been inundated with fire, all of California. And I just see, like, what we don't talk about there is how much that's lost, like how much communities lost, how much the people who live on the land and homestead that don't have insurance. Like, suddenly you can lose everything you've worked for 2 to 5 to 20 years, and we don't talk about it. You just hold that kind of tension of knowing, and it's, anyway, intense. So
Mm-hmm.
coming back, right? Coming back. One other thing is food, right? It makes me think about what we eat. You said tea. Like, I have my comfort beverage for sure. Soy latte, I drink all the time. But then the foods we eat to ground,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I thought about food.
Well, I think it's a grounding point, and all that grief, like holding that tension and holding an experience that might be foreign to someone else. And Californians are starting to have a community around that kind of loss, because it's something that so many people have been through, or something that people like me have just watched people close to them go through for the last however many years. And I think pointing out that it is a process of heartbreak is, well, yes, it's important. And because, yes, we don't talk about it. We talk about like what we're going to do and how we're going to go mend. And I appreciate the honoring of all that's lost too. Because yes, people put their work, their life force into it. I mean, creating home is grounding, and it's not a guarantee. That's what California is teaching us. It's just something we can be grateful for while it's here. Mhm. And so then coming into these little things like water, liquids into the body and nourishing the body, it reminds us like it's all outside. It's systems outside of ourselves, and there's a system within our own body that is our home.
Yeah. That feels so true.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot today, as my dad used to say. Well,
Well, it's a full time, and that's when there's not a lot of words always. But Syntha, I appreciate you being with me as I'm okay. I'm a little rattled by everything. And so I'm hearing all of my rawness. And I appreciate you holding space for that.
I'm with you. I feel it too. My heart's like, I'm there in my heart. Even you said heartbreak
Mm-hmm.
here early. I mean, that's real.
And
And what
that's
do?
important.
We feel.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're dropping into those feelings. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what I got, and just a lot of gratitude.
Mm. I'm grateful. You're okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm. Okay. We'll see y'all next time.
That's it for Get Woke today. Bye.